Welcome back to War Chest Wednesday on everyone's favorite trial lawyer podcast, Settlement Nation, brought to you by Independent Life, the only plaintiff-focused structured settlement provider. As always, I'm your host, Courtney Barber, and I'm sharing more great tools with you to add to your war chest in your fight for justice. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Kristin Neerhof. She's here with me on the show. Now, she's the founder of Kristin Neerhof Settlement Planning, and she assists plaintiffs and attorneys in the settlement process by developing comprehensive financial plans. She is committed to providing her clients with a solid foundation of financial stability to ensure security and peace of mind. Kristin is going to be sharing the options available to attorneys today as well that want to defer income and taxes, which is something that I think all of our listeners will be really interested in. It's these secrets that keep you focused on what matters, which is your cases and your clients, and not trying to figure out the best strategy for your money. So welcome, Kristin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I am so happy to have you. I've been wanting to have you on the show for such a long time because, like me, you're a big advocate for plaintiffs and also for women in the industry and helping to educate them on their own financial future. But before we begin, I want to start at the very beginning, Kristin. When you were a young girl, did you always think you'd grow up to be a settlement planner?
I never even knew what a settlement planner was. But I guess I was basically born into the litigation world. My mother was a court reporter, and that's really how I was introduced to the plaintiff world. My mom always was taking plaintiff asbestos depositions. All of her plaintiffs were dying of mesothelioma from asbestos exposure. So from a very young age, I became very biased towards the plaintiff side. I was hearing these dying testimonies. It was very sad work that she was doing. And I just grew a passion for that, supporting my mom and what she was doing. And then she eventually went on to start a very successful court reporting agency. So just seeing my mom build and grow and be an entrepreneur really launched me into wanting to be in the legal world and then also really supporting plaintiffs. So that's kind of why I got here today.
I love that. And so did any part of you think that you ever wanted to be a trial lawyer at all?
My mom always said, don't go to law school. You'll make more as a court reporter.
Exactly.
Which I thought was so funny because my mom's a very smart businesswoman. I have so much respect for her and what she grew and the way that she did it. My mom came from nothing. I mean, she was basically tossed around as an orphan. And she was on food stamps. She put herself through trade school to be a court reporter. The company that she built was just pure family oriented. I mean, everything that she did was for her employees, for our family. And so I really just became part of that. Right. And so going to law school was just never something that I really thought about. I have thought about it now that I've been in the business for a while, but I'm so happy with what I get to do every single day that I really want to leave the lawyering to the lawyers and I can focus on the finances because that's where my passion is at this point. I ended up leaving the deposition world and I am so passionate about financial planning, wealth management, just really speaking to the plaintiffs about their story and looking to the next chapter. That's where my heart is. And so I don't like to fight either. So I think that there are so many more trial lawyers that are much better suited to do that than me.
Well, I think you definitely picked the right career. Now, for attorneys that may not have worked with a settlement planner before, which I hope that they have, but maybe they're new starting out, what's the process when an attorney brings you into a case or you get involved in a case?
Oh goodness. Some of my attorneys call me at 7 p.m. and they're in mediation and it just settled and they want structures right then. So sometimes that's the process. So I am always answering my phone. You can always text me or call me and I will answer. Sometimes, which is preferred, I get much more advance notice and they tell me, hey, I've got a mediation coming up. I think it's going to settle. Can you start running some numbers? And so I say, great, tell me about the plaintiff. We talk about the plaintiff first. And then we get into, okay, have you thought about structuring their fees? And most of the time, trial lawyers don't even think about structuring their fees until the case is actually settled. Because I think it's a mindset thing, right? You don't want to think that you have it until you've actually reached settlement. And I totally understand that and respect that. And I can move quickly when we need to move quickly because I understand how this business works. Sometimes you don't have ample time to sit and plan and think about it. So as much as we can talk about just general strategy before that mediation comes, before that settlement comes, and I can have a better understanding of what that particular trial lawyer's goals are, where they are with retirement planning, how much they would need to defer, how their year's tracking. I feel like because it's February right now, a lot of trial lawyers really aren't thinking tax deferral. Once, June, July, August starts hitting and they have had a really great year, then the light bulb turns on and they're thinking, okay, I don't want to take any more money this year. I need to start deferring it. So that's why, my goodness, August through December is crazy town in our business because everybody then wants to start deferring because they've had really successful years, which is great. So here for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as you said too, we're trying to get and I'm in, for everyone who doesn't know, I don't just podcast full time. I am in the same industry as Kristin, and we're trying to educate people to start thinking about this before it is important and urgent, even though sometimes that can't always happen because you don't know exactly how much you'll be getting until like settlement time. But it's always nice to have a bit of a plan for yourself or some goals. So on that note, Kristin, let's switch a little bit to talk about plaintiffs first. So attorneys, they're working with these people. You get your settlement, you get your judgment, and they have this money now. And if they haven't been able to manage $1,000 in their life successfully, they're not going to be able to manage $1 million. So tell me a little bit about the benefits for plaintiffs for structuring their money and also why it's so important.
Oh, it's so important. How long do we have?
Yeah. I mean,
I could go on
we've
all
got
day
as much time
about
as we
this.
need, so.
And I'm truly so passionate about this area in particular because, yes, the plaintiffs that we work with, they've never, most of them have never sat down with a financial advisor. They don't have a person to call. Once they are reaching settlement and dollars are being discussed, maybe a random uncle comes out of the woodworks that, oh, I just got my licenses, I can help you. And that's not the person that needs to advise them on the largest sum of money that they will ever probably receive in their entire lifetime. So really just getting in front of the plaintiff early before all of the other voices start popping up is so important. Really just talking them through, like, we're not just going to leave you stranded to handle this yourself. You have resources. We have a team for you. You have everything that you need to make the best possible decisions with your money at your fingertips. So let us introduce you to a settlement consultant. They're first going to talk with you about health insurance, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Medicare. Let's talk about those things first. Let's get a handle on what we need to protect your health insurance moving forward, because that's the most important piece of any case, right? This client has been injured. We have to first protect their future healthcare moving forward. Once we have that covered, then it's okay. What debts do we need to pay off? How can we get you debt-free, health insurance covered? And then, what are your financial goals? What do you really want to do with this money? And I think it's so important. When I meet most plaintiffs, I just really take the first call as a listening session. They need to emotionally dump, and I am there to just hear it all, because sometimes they want to relive all of their injuries. Sometimes they want to, we spend an hour really just kind of getting to know each other. I just really want to form a good picture about their family life, how many kids they have, if they need a new van to help them get around, if they're going to need a driver. As I'm listening to them, I am just writing like crazy and taking so many notes to really just understand how I can help this person moving forward. And so once I have a good understanding about all of those areas, then I start putting together some recommendations. Then we'll start talking about, okay, here's a tax shelter that's available to you upon settlement. Let's see if it makes sense. And if we can start putting the pieces together in a puzzle to figure out what will work. And that might include a trust. We might need to set up a special needs trust to protect benefits. We need to have a structured settlement come into the trust. I think the number one goal is to make these settlement funds last as long as possible. That's why we're here. And really incorporating some sort of a lifetime payment is so powerful in these types of settlements. And when I talk with a client, I spoke with one on Friday, and it's a wrongful death case. And, his father passed away and he's receiving a lump sum. And I was asking, where do you currently work? He currently works at a thrift store. He's making $500 a month and he's getting $500,000. That is an overwhelming amount of money to an hourly employee at a thrift store. So, he's really leaning on me and his attorney to really guide him on what will be the best fit. And so we're going through all these plans and he's just saying, okay. And I stop him and I remind him like, this is your plan. I don't want you to go along with what I'm saying. I really want you to take ownership of this and make sure that it's the right fit. And so once I gave him that control and he started really feeling it and thinking about, okay, well, I want to buy a Sprinter van and I want to be able to go, drive and live next to my mom. That's important to me. And okay, I want to do this. And so we start picking apart the plan and putting it back together based on what he wants, not just what we're feeding him. So I think it's so important really to just listen, get to know your client, and then start putting together what will make sense for them.
That is so important. And I think you've probably seen, great stories of where you've worked with clients and how it's really benefited them, and also horror stories of when, I always call it Uncle Eddie, like the guy from National Lampoon with the RV that comes out and says, I have this great idea where you should invest in baseball cards, or, my snake zoo that I'm going to have at my house, or something weird.
Snake zoo.
You're like, wow, what a great speculative investment strategy. So has there been any time where, you've seen a client that, like in your time working, where when you've worked with them and it's just they've even reached out to you after and said, thank you so much for helping me actually see the bigger picture, because it could be very overwhelming with what they get?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. All the time.
I was going to say too many to count, probably.
Which is why I feel so blessed to be doing what I'm doing. It is life-giving to get to work with these clients and see them through that next chapter. The example that comes to mind is a mom that I worked with, single mom, and she was so badly injured in a train accident that it left her unable to work. 2 young children, and gosh, as a mom, I get these calls and, I'm listening to their stories and I can compartmentalize and listen, but after the call, it's so heavy, but just hearing her story that she's unable to work, she's 2 young children to feed, provide completely by herself, and then putting together a settlement plan that can check off every single box that she wants for their college education, for getting her a new car, for getting her debt free, for buying them their very first townhome, to have a roof over their head as a family. She called me, or I think she texted me on Christmas, like a picture of her Christmas tree and their brand new townhome with her little boys playing. And she's like, thank you so much. And just tears, right? I mean, to get to be part of their story, to get to be part of their life, to give them that financial security. And you, I mean, I don't do it. It is a team effort. She actually did choose Independent Life as her annuity provider because you guys always have the best rates. So we went with Independent Life for that one. And she has this payment stream that it's a lifetime payment. So she knows that no matter what, she has that paycheck coming in every single month, and she gets to choose when to work. She gets to be a mom first, heal, recover from her horrible accident that she had. And then she gets to choose to work when she wants, which is great.
And that's so special. And I think for the attorneys as well, which we're going to switch to now, but, it must be great for them to work with someone like you, Kristin, and knowing that their clients, because after that case is done, they have so many, sometimes hundreds of cases backed up that they're working on it at one time. And the next trial, they can't keep tabs on every client that they've had and, be touching base with them like they would when they're actually leading up to a trial. So it's nice when they have someone like you that comes in and makes sure that the rest of their life is taken care of. Then they have that peace of mind that they know that their client is in the right hands. So I think it's very, very special and so important. Now, speaking of attorneys, as you mentioned, they don't always know that there's things they can do with their money other just taking it and spending it, which seems to be a very popular strategy. Let's talk a little bit about fee deferrals that contingency attorneys can take when they settle a case.
Oh, yes. Fee deferrals are so important, especially living in California. So I live in Southern California. The the bulk of my business is in California. We have extremely high taxes here. So when we're talking about trial lawyers just accepting their fees over and over and over again, they need to know that they have the ability to defer those fees, and you won't pay taxes on those fees until you receive them in the future. So once you click into, I call it clicking into fee planning mode. We have general financial planning, but this is fee planning. You can start planning out your fees. You work so hard. And when you get to choose when that fee comes back to you, you are all of a sudden in control. Trial lawyers, the industry itself, it's an out of control position to be in. You take these cases, you don't know when they're going to settle. All of a sudden you get a big one and then back to the grind. And all of a sudden you get another big one back to the grind. And then you get a lot of little ones along the way. And then, so it's very uneven income that these trial lawyers experience throughout the year, especially my solo practitioners that I work with. So once they start kicking in the fee planning mentality and just take a breath and look at, okay, do I want to receive this fee right now? Or do I want to receive it in the future? You have just started controlling your future income. It's a very powerful position to be in. And so many of the trial lawyers that I've been able to work with that click into that fee planning mode, I feel like they have so much more peace and control over their practices because they know their overhead is met for 2024 through 2036. Their firm's overhead is already taken care of. So they don't have to worry about each bill coming in or if there's going to be a gap in cases. Like they have already started planning out their income to cover their baseline. And that's very important.
It's so important. And I love that you said that about actually slowing down to think about how they want their money to actually work for them. Because I think there's a lot of people who, as you said, it is go, go, go. And then it can be a massive famine with no cases, no settlements. It's nice to have that steady income knowing that, okay, if there is a slowdown or it's holiday time or something like that, it's, they don't have to stress out so much to pay their bills. Speaking of, another great thing about doing contingency fee planning is the tax benefits of your fee deferral. Do you want to speak a little bit about that? Because I don't know if a lot of plaintiff attorneys know that there actually are some benefits to it.
Yeah. So, being able to push off a large fee in any particular year and just decrease your overall tax liability for that given year is incredibly powerful. So you can push that fee off into a later year in retirement that you might not be closing as many cases. So your tax liability in the future will likely be a lot less than it is now. So if you're having a great year, start thinking, okay, my tax bill is going to be pretty darn high. How can I push this off into later years? Or how can I structure it so that each year I know that I will be making X amount of dollars. And so I can predict my tax bill a little bit better. So I think it's not only the tax deferral that's incredibly powerful, but it's also the interest that can be earned. Right now the market is a hot mess. Any day that you turn on financial news, it is so unpredictable. The last few months have been crazy. And I think this year will continue to be crazy. So structured settlements have just traditionally gotten a bad rap for it's too low, it's fixed, it's conservative. Who wants to lock into that fixed rate? Right now, a fixed guaranteed rate of return is a wonderful part of any portfolio. Let me tell you, structured settlement rates right now, I think they're the best that they've been in the last 17 years. The rates that we're seeing on these plans, I would like to lock into them. I do not want to be injured to get that, but I would love to lock into one. We're seeing between 4 and 5% fixed guaranteed returns. So when you're looking at a safe, conservative part of your portfolio, that's a structured settlement.
Right.
That's what you want to have as your structured settlement. And to get that wonderful tax shelter, that is such a great way to build wealth over time. When we're talking about building wealth and that financial security, you want to maximize every single tax shelter that is available to you. And plaintiff trial lawyers are one of the only professions where you can just choose to defer chunks of cash. What other profession gets to do that? Large chunks of cash that you can place into this lovely tax shelter, and you get to pick and choose when you will pay taxes. I would love to be able to do that. I can't do that though, because I am not a trial lawyer. So things like that, where we have these tools available for your financial planning, that's only available to plaintiff and plaintiff trial lawyer attorneys.
I know. I always say that this part of being a trial lawyer would make me want to consider going to law school and doing it. But if it was like Elle Woods and I could do it so quickly and pass and look fabulous, I'd do it. But I know it's a lot of hard work and I just don't know if I could read all those books. But
yes.
Something to mention too that you said that was great, even using a structured settlement, attorneys, sometimes don't realize that they don't have to take their full fee and put it into one structure. A structure could be one part of their fee, and they could utilize other bits of their planning with you into other investment types, other retirement planning. It doesn't have to be you take your full fee and you push it out into the future and you don't get it now. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, as it could be part of a strategy that they do other things as well?
Yes. Thinking about this, I have some clients, and I'm just going to say, let's call it microstructuring, because I have a lot of clients that so many people think that it's got to be this big, massive, life-changing fee that then we're going to think about structuring. It doesn't have to be that. Microstructuring is looking at just a piece of every fee that comes in. The minimum amount to structure is $10,000, right? So if you start thinking, okay, I'm going to put away 15% of every fee that I get. That will add up over time. You do not need every single dollar of your fee, I will tell you. And I do not need to have every single dollar that I make. I invest 15 to 20% of every check that I get. I set it aside. I don't even think about it. With plaintiff trial lawyers, it's the same. If you could start thinking about just putting aside 15% of every fee that you have coming in, even on the little ones, call me on the little ones. Because what we do is we can start building it out over time. And one of my clients, she does this, and she'll call me on her little ones. Hey, is this one too small? I'm like, no, I love it. Let's add it to your plan. Because what I have this wonderful spreadsheet for her. And starting at I think it's age 45, we have just lines of fees that she has put off. And so now she's at over $10,000 a month, starting at age 45 for the rest of her life. And it started small. It started with, a $300 a month payment here, a $500 a month payment there, $800 a month. All of a sudden we're pushing 9. And then I just emailed her and I was like, wow, look at what we have done. You are already over $10,000 a month for the rest of your life. And these are fees that she didn't even really think about. It's just 15% of a smaller fee can really make a big impact over time. And that's true with any of our behaviors. Small things over the long term make the big difference. It's consistency. It's always keeping in mind, savings, taking advantage of these tax shelters. And she has done that. And she's set for life. She can pick and choose what cases she wants to work. She doesn't have to work until she's 60. If she doesn't want to, she might want to, but she just gave herself financial freedom forever.
This is amazing. What a perfect segue, because I do now want to talk about this exact thing, Kristin, female financial planning. I did a little bit of research actually before our episode today, and I found out that less than 70% of women have enough money in a retirement fund as compared to 81% of men. And only 39% of women are confident they'll have enough money to even last them for 25 years if they're not working. That was from the Transamerica Center for Retirement. And another stat, which I found to be very true from just people that I've worked with, is that women are twice as likely as men to associate negative emotions with finances. So let's speak a little bit about that. Why is it so important that, like your client, like yourself, that women start taking the reins of their own financial planning sort of back onto themselves and not leaving it to an accountant or the male partners in their law firm or their husband or just anyone else? They actually take it onto themselves to think about, what do I want to do with the fees that I get in my future?
Look at the divorce rate, right? Mm-hmm. It's over 50%. So I actually, in preparation for this question, I reached out to one of my clients, and she did 4 fee structures with me last fall on a big case. And, I reached back out to her just to say, hey, I'm doing this podcast this week. I just wanted to check in, what's your feedback on your structure? Good or bad? Give it to me. I want to know, are you happy you did it? Do you have any regrets? Would you do it again? She wrote back this long email, and it was so awesome to hear her feedback. It was all positive. She's like, I would 1000% do it again over and over and over. I will never not structure fees that I get. I think it's so empowering as a female trial lawyer, just as a female, to be in control of your financial future. And she also has a practice that deals with family law. So she's not, she knows about divorce. She knows about the risks, and she's, happily married. She has 3 kids. She's an amazing person. But she is also very smart to always prepare for the worst. And she also made a comment about, women just typically fall into the caregiver mode if something happens. If a child gets hurt, women, moms, you stop life and you care for that child. If your spouse is injured, you care for your spouse. If even like we are all at the age where our parents are elderly, they might need care. We might have to click into a caregiving role. And so women just traditionally put their careers on the back burner to be that caregiving role. And it was so great that she pointed that out. She said that if anything happens to my immediate family, my extended family, that I can choose to be that caregiver, and I already have my financial future set. So it's just creating that foundation, that baseline for ourselves, that no matter what happens, we are in control. And I think with financial planning for women, it is scary. I think it's just traditionally been, it's the man's job. The man's going to worry about the investments, the finances. I'm going to talk to my wealth manager. That's just how it's been. But I see so many of those molds being shattered, and I love it. Each female trial lawyer that I talk with that is just kicking butt right now, I'm so motivated by them, and I just can't wait to work with them. And it's just, I say, call me when you want to, call me when you're ready. I know you're in the building mode. I know you're just stacking cash right now, but when you get that case where you feel like you can actually set it aside, we can pay your firm overhead. Every single bill is going to be paid. So let me do some planning for you. Let's see what we can do. And they get excited too. So, I always hate to say, the men versus women thing, because I think it's important for all of us to be smart with money. We are in a profession where a lot of money is exchanged. We are all asked to be wise and ethical with it. We all need to be responsible with the dollars that are coming our way. But if we are going to put the light on women, I think it's incredibly important for them to really take management of that role and be responsible with it.
I love that. And I think too, I never even thought about the caregiving role, but that is so true, for everyone with aging parents or other obligations. And as well as some women that I know that my company has worked with, they've been able to structure their fee and then take time off because they wanted to have another child or do something. And they never could have done that knowing that they'd have to be out of the office or out of the workforce for, at least the pregnancy, but up the first couple of years of their child's life. And they didn't have to stress because they knew that they had that money coming in, which is really powerful. It can be for stuff that's instant as well as retirement. Kristin, for any trial lawyer listening, but especially females, when they come to you, there's no silly questions. And I think you create an environment where people feel very comfortable. But what would be the process if someone wanted to reach out to you and work with you, or kind of even get this conversation started? Maybe they have a question after today. How do they do that?
Oh my gosh. Call me, text me, email me. Let's set up a time to chat. Let's get lunch. I love learning about my clients and understanding their questions. And the more that I can get to know each client, the better planning I can do for them. And I always ask, however much you want me to get involved, I will get involved. We have a whole wealth planning platform that we can bring in to help a client, whether that's setting up other retirement accounts, 401ks for their firm, so we have a plan, for as the year starts going. And then as they get those big fees, where's it going to go? What bucket will it fall in? So really just building the foundation to have a plan for just getting our baseline covered, emergency funds, being debt free, long-term planning of where they want their firm to grow, making sure that there's enough liquidity in their financial portfolio to meet all of those needs, and then start looking at that guaranteed income and how that's going to work into that. So I will ask as many questions as they don't find annoying and as much as they want to share. But I love meeting new clients. I love getting to know them. No question is a dumb question. We are all here to learn. I'm learning stuff in this business every single day. I'm, a market watch nerd. I'm always learning as much as possible and, reading the blogs and following the markets and just trying to be a student myself. So anything that I can share that can be helpful, I always love to do so.
I love that. And so for people who want to take action now, maybe they're pulled over on the side of the road with their pen and paper ready because they're about to call you, how do they get in touch with you?
Just call me, 949-375-7418. You can email me at kneerhof@sagesettlements.com. You can always find me on the Sage Settlement website as well. And then, we'll go from there.
That's so cool. Now,
or they'll probably see me. I'm at every conference.
I was going to say,
you're going to see me around.
She's gorgeous and she's so financial savvy. And you can't miss her. Last question to end. If you were going to leave the listeners with one great piece of advice, whether it's for their own financial planning, structured settlements, something, what would it be?
I would say just, stop and understand your goals. We work so hard in this business, and I think sometimes our work can dictate our lives, right? But taking some time to really stop and think, why am I doing this? And do I want to be doing this in 5 years and 10 years? If so, what do I want that to look like? Because money is so important in the way that we reach our goals. A lot of people don't like to talk about money. I will talk about money all day, every day. It is just so fascinating to me because it's so behavior driven, and it really helps me understand what is interesting to a person. The way that they spend their money tells you a lot about somebody, and really understanding somebody's goals. That's how we get there. We put the money behind it to help them reach those goals. So if you haven't really stopped in a while to just really think about what your goals are and your priorities, I think it's just a really good reminder to stop and do that.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been great. I hope that everyone who listens to Settlement Nation loved this episode. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you love the show, you have Kristin's details, but I'll put them in the show notes if you want to reach out to her directly. She's always here to help you reach your financial goals and also work with your clients. So thank you, Kristin, for coming on.